It's Real Fishing here today, and I'm going to do some videos now of my top 5 lures for different kinds of fish after the year's end, because it's now 2016. So I know I just started this channel, but I'm still doing a top 5. So we're going to start with my top 5 for crappies. Now, crappies are a fish that are very popular right now. Their popularity has skyrocketed in recent years. There's 3 kinds of crappies. There's the black crappie, which is one I usually fish for because they're common around here, and they're actually some kind of challenge to catch because you gotta find them. There's the white crappie, which there's no spots for white crappie within 2 hours of me, so I gotta, if I want white crappies, I gotta go to the Niagara River or Lake Erie or those places, and I can't fish there because I'm too far away. And then there's rock bass, and I've caught loads of rock bass, but they're just no fun to catch unless you're trying to boost your confidence as an angler. They're too easy. You can get them on anything, anytime, anywhere. So, without further ado, let's get started. So, instead of doing a top 5 and then have a brand in each lure, we're going to have my top 5 categories. So, coming in at number 5, we have a spoon. We got a bunch of different colors and sizes here. These are the Walmart brand of spoon. And we've got a silver and pink. We've got a blue and silver. We got a pink and gold, and we got another blue and silver, a little bigger. These two here are 1/8 ounce, and these two are 1/4 ounce. I use the 1/8 ounce when I'm just going to get some crappies for fishing, and I use these when I'm targeting a slab. These are actually the spoons that I usually use for smallmouth bass, the 1/4 ounce. And spoons were really the first fishing lures, and they're just as effective today as they were before. And they're great for suspended crappies, because you can drop them off the side of the boat and jig them vertically in the water, or you could cast them and let them sink to a certain depth, and they'll come back on the retrieve at that depth. But I haven't found them to be as consistently good to catch crappies as some of these other lures, which is why they're coming in at number 5. But spoons are a great option because they're inexpensive. Like those 4 spoons, I got them at Walmart for like $1. Coming in at number 4, we have a minnow plug. This specific one is a live target rainbow smelt. Now you don't have to get these really high quality, high finish, expensive lures. This thing was like $12, and it's just a little lure. It's not very big, but it gets the job done and catches fish. You could go with like the Rapala, the ultralight crank, or like a small floater by Rapala or a Rebel minnow, and get just as many fish, and you get a lot less of a cost. Minnow plugs are good when the crappies are in pretty shallow water. So how you fish a minnow plug is you cast it out. They cast pretty far, and you twitch it under the surface and let it float back up. You usually hit it as it's floating back because it looks like a distressed dying minnow. I find I get a lot of bigger crappies on minnow plugs because as they get older they stop feeding on the fish fry and they feed more on like adult minnows and shad and smell and that kind of stuff. So I tend to get bigger ones, but this isn't a good lure for producing numbers, and that's what's coming in at number 4. Coming in at number 3, we have a spinner. This is a versatile lure for crappie fishing. You can fish it really shallow, just casting it out and letting it sink and reeling it in. Or you can fish them deep by adding weight to the line. You can fish them suspended, you can fish them up in the water column, you can fish them on the bottom. And these work really well. Like this is one of my go-tos for crappie fishing, because I pretty much use 5 lures for crappies. And this, my number 2 spot and my number 1 spot, are really I pick one of those when I'm trying to find the crappies. And spinners can imitate a wide variety of stuff. They can be a minnow. If you're kind of just twitching them along the bottom and you got like a brown pattern, you can even imitate crawdads with them. You can imitate frogs. You can imitate insects. You can really imitate a lot of things with a spinner. And they catch fish, but you get a lot of small fish on spinners, but you definitely get numbers. Number 2 is a jig. And I fish jigs all the time for crappies. You can tie your own jigs or you can buy them. This is the Slab Tech is the name of the brand. And this is a 1/8 ounce. You can get as little as a 1/16 ounce or as big as a 1/4 ounce if you're going for big crappies or just numbers. But the 1/8 catches those numbers and it catches big fish, which is really what you want in a lure. But the reason I'm having my jig come in at number 2 is because it's hard to fish a jig in shallow water because it sinks and you can't really clip the tops of weeds with a jig. It's harder than with my number 1 spot. But if I could fish this lure in shallow water, it would definitely be my number 1. I have caught hundreds of crappies on jigs. I've caught some giant crappies on jigs. My biggest crappie this season was caught on a jig. It was 18 inches and just over 3 pounds. My number 1 crappie lure is a crankbait. This is a Rapala ultralight crank here. Here's why I like a crankbait. I can fish it anytime, anywhere. I can fish it in shallow water. I can fish like a square bill and clip the tops of the weeds with that. I could use one of these and fish deeper, like in 20 feet. Because crappies suspend. So when you get them in like 20 feet of water, they're usually going to hang around the 10-foot mark. So this is a perfect crankbait for deeper water, but I'd use like a crick hopper or something in the shallower water. And crankbaits imitate bait fish, and that's most of what big crappies are feeding on. So they hit these, the bigger crappies hit these because they think it's bait fish. But if you were to use a smaller one like a crick hopper or something, you would get some smaller crappies too, but you'd also get the big ones because the big ones will feed on an insect that falls into the water. Anyways, that was my top 5 crappie lures. If you agree with me, comment. If you have something that you'd like to add to this list, you could also make a comment about that if I missed something. But these are pretty much my 5 lures that I use to catch crappies. If you got these 5 lures, you're pretty much set for crappie fishing. They're not like bass or walleyes or pike or muskies, those kinds of fish where you need like a million different lures, a million different colors, and a ton of different sizes. Really, crappies, you just need some small baits and just your basic bait fish colors, and you'll get them. You'll get a lot of them, and you get big ones. Here's a challenge with crappie fishing, though. It's finding them, so remember that. Anyways, guys, see you next time.